comment about the Holocaust. Uh, People have wanted Whoopi Goldberg to be fired for various reasons. When Donald Trump got into office, uh, her feelings about Donald Trump and everything. So I think Whoopi Goldberg got on The View in 2008, and she had, I think she took the place of Rosie O'Donnell. But at the time, Elizabeth Hasselbeck was on The View as well. And I have never heard of Elizabeth Hasselbeck. I never heard of anybody wanting Elizabeth Hasselbeck's job. So anyway, I don't want to sound boring or nothing. I didn't go over this or anything. Let me stop this for a second.
And file Fed and state for free.
So let's just look at this.
Overnight, The View co-host Whoopi Goldberg suspended for 2 weeks for her comments about the Holocaust. Ariel Reshef has the story. Good morning, Ariel.
Good morning to you, George. Though Goldberg has apologized, her comments sparked a firestorm, some seeing this as a troubling sign of fading understanding about the horrors of the Holocaust. This morning, ABC News suspending Whoopi Goldberg for 2 weeks in response to her inflammatory remarks about the Holocaust. ABC News President Kim Godwin saying in a statement, effective immediately, I am suspending Whoopi Goldberg for 2 weeks for her wrong and hurtful comments. While Whoopi has apologized, I've asked her to take time to reflect and learn about the impact of her comments. The entire ABC News organization stands in solidarity with our Jewish colleagues, friends, family, and communities.
If you're going to do this, then let's be truthful about it, because the Holocaust isn't about race.
On Monday's show, the host of ABC's The View inaccurately claimed the Holocaust was not related to race.
It's not about race. It's not about race.
What is it about?
Because it's about man's inhumanity to man. That's what it's about. Whoopi Goldberg.
Goldberg appearing to double down on the Colbert Show that night.
The American experience tends to be based on skin.
Yes. And so that is what race means to me. Mm-hmm. When you talk about being a racist, I was saying you can't call this racism. This was evil. Mm-hmm. This wasn't based on the skin. You couldn't tell who was Jewish. Mm-hmm. They had to delve deeply to figure it out.
Then tweeting an apology, saying in part, the Jewish people around the world have always had my support, and that will never waver. I'm sorry for the hurt I have caused. And the next day, opening The View with this.
I said that the Holocaust wasn't about race, and it was instead about man's inhumanity to man. But it is indeed about race, because Hitler and the Nazis considered Jews to be an inferior race. Now, words matter, and mine are no exception. I regret my comments, as I said, and I stand corrected. I also stand with the Jewish people, as they know and y'all know, because I've always done that.
By the end of the Holocaust, just 77 years ago, 6 million Jews had been murdered.
That might not fit exactly or feel different than the way we think about race in 21st century America, where primarily it's about people of color. But throughout the Jewish people's history, they have been marginalized, they have been persecuted, they have been slaughtered, in large part because many people felt they were not just a different religion, but indeed a different race.
The head of the Anti-Defamation League warning anti-Semitism is still a real and present danger.
We need people on good faith on the left and the right to call this out forcefully, fully, without hesitation.
And studies show an alarming decline in knowledge about the Holocaust at a time when anti-Semitism has surged to unprecedented levels. The FBI saying Jews are the most targeted for religious-based hate crimes in this country. And George, as you heard there, Goldberg saying she regrets her comments and any hurt they may have caused.
Yes, she did. Okay, Ariel, thanks very much. Well, hey there, GMA fans.
Okay, let me turn it off. Okay, so anyway, so she went on the fire for saying that the Holocaust wasn't about race. It was about humanity, and that, that the Jewish people that were being put into those camps and being killed by Hitler and his men were white, just like Hitler and them was white, in other words. They did have the same skin complexion, and if I look up, let me look up what is race. Let me look that up right quick. So, how is race defined? Okay. They give me a different definition. Let me see. Doesn't give me. Examples of race and ethnicity. Okay, so while race and ethnicity can get confusing, these two terms have some unique differences between them. Get a simple definition of these two terms and examples of each. Dive into how these words are based on social sculptures rather than scientific ones. So, race or racial identity simply describes the physical features that a group of persons might have in common. This can include but aren't limited to skin color, facial sculpture, eye color, hair color, other physical characteristics. You have examples. For example, a person with white skin might consider themselves part of the white racial category, while someone with darker skin might consider themselves black or African American. This isn't a hard and fast rule, however. Racial identity can vary based on your global location. For instance, a person may consider themselves black or African American in America, but they may view themselves as a different racial category in a different country depending on that country's racial constructs. Excuse me if I pronounced that wrong. Race is also dependent on your upbringing. For example, someone with predominantly Asian physical features could consider themselves Native American if they were raised in a Native American community or have Native American parents. So this is it right here. A few examples of racial identifiers or categories include white or Caucasian, British, French, German, etc., black, African American, or colored people, Kenyan, Nigerian, Somalian, biracial, etc., American Indian or Alaska Native. Okay, Iroquois, Cherokee, Navajo, Haida, etc. Latino or Hispanic, Cuban, Mexican, Puerto Rican, etc. Asian, which would include Japanese, Korean, Chinese, Cambodian, etc. And Pacific Islanders or Hawaiians, Somalian, Samoan, Tongan, Tahiti. Oh, there you have it right there. Let me, so you can see this right quick. Okay, so these are categories of race. Now let's look at ethnicity. While people might choose to define themselves based on their race, they can also use their ethnicity. Unlike race, which is based largely on physical attributes, your ethnicity is based on traditions, language, nationalities, or cultural heritage. When you think of your ethnicity, you look beyond your physical characteristics to traits that you share with the culture around you. While race might be derived from the color of your skin, ethnicity takes into account your cultural constructs. For example, you might have a German ethnicity because your great-grandmother or grandfather came from Germany. You speak the language and you follow German cultural traditions. And I hope you can see that well. I have to apologize. I should have had this on the TV screen or something. But you're looking at the computer instead. Okay, so here are examples of ethnicity right there. Yeah, Arabs populate such countries as Algeria, Sudan, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, mostly Muslim. Now, we know that Islam is a religion. Okay, Jewish, here it go, right here. So, what Whoopi Goldberg was saying was not wrong. It's just that I think she could have worded it better, but I don't know why people was hurtful by it, because those Jews that they was putting into those camps and, putting them in gas chambers and killing them left and right, they were basically just about the same skin complexion as Hitler and his men. They was just looked down on because Hitler considered them to be inferior. And he, tried to blame them to cover up his actions or whatever. We're going to look at Hitler. But right now I want to focus on Whoopi Goldberg, what she said, versus Elizabeth Hasselbeck, who has been as controversial as Whoopi Goldberg has been. But you see, Whoopi Goldberg is black and Elizabeth Hasselbeck is white. Okay? Her brother-in-law once played in the NFL. He was a quarterback in the NFL. Okay, so it says right here, Jewish. In their religion, most of them is Judaism, language like Yiddish and Hebrew, originated from Israelites. You have Irish, their religion is Catholic. Traditions like St. Patrick's Day, and Celtic music. Now, I know some people might pronounce it as Celtic, but if you look up the history of Halloween and Samhain, which that's how Halloween originated, they pronounce it Celtic. Han, Chinese, largest ethnic group in China and worldwide. French, unique traditions like All Souls Day and St. Catherine's Day. Italian, large ethnic group in Italy covering 96%. Italian cuisine is popular in world food cultures. Okay, Russians celebrate Orthodox and pagan traditions. Dutch from the Netherlands, original traditions like Sinter. I'm not going to pronounce that. Sinterklaas. Anyway, and National Queen's Day. Okay, so you see the different ethnicity groups that we have right there. Okay, so let's go back to. So they suspended Whoopi Goldberg. Now I need to find out if Elizabeth Hasselbeck has ever been suspended from The View. Okay, she was on The View a long time ago, and oops, I'm spelling her name wrong. I'm spelling Elizabeth. Matter of fact, let me go to there we go. So, they have Elizabeth Hasselbeck worst moments.
Obama is going to take our hard-earned money and spread it around as he sees fit. Are these news organizations and papers, etc., outlets coddling Barack Obama? Have they given him, if they're coming out with these DVDs, did they have a vetted interest?
Okay, well, I don't want to take nobody's videos or nothing like that. Let's look at one specific thing about Elizabeth Hasselbeck. One thing that happened is that Rosie O'Donnell got into it with Elizabeth Hasselbeck.
Some things to say.
I was watching Al Gore on Larry King last night, and he has a new book out, Al Gore, where he basically really says that Bush was the worst president that we've ever had in the history of this country. And I noticed that Jimmy Carter, a former president, is saying the same thing. So now, if the former president,
let me pause that. Well, now we know that it was actually Donald Trump who's the worst president probably in history. Okay, that's my opinion. Maybe somebody else might have thought he was the greatest president, but Donald Trump by far was the worst president we ever had.
Jimmy Carter is saying it, a former vice president of the United States is saying it, and I have a list here of the things that Bush has done. I don't really understand why he's still there. Does anyone have any idea why we can't get rid of this guy who stole the election in 2000, killed the surplus with tax cuts? Wait a minute. Wanted to privatize Social Security. Let me get through the list.
It's very long, so we might be here for a while.
You might be here. I let you talk yesterday. Now I'm talking. And I love her, but let me do this. He withdrew us from the Kyoto Treaty. John Ashcroft sat in the classroom after learning about 9/11.
No, so he was supposed to freak out the kids when he was reading to them,
My Pet Goat for 7 minutes after we were attacked on 9/11.
Right, he should have definitely
He lied to get us into the war. He awarded a no-bid contract to Halliburton, Abu Ghraib. He promoted his friend Michael Brown to take care of Katrina. Heck of a job, Brownie. Remember that? Yeah. He doesn't listen to the Iraq study group. He choked on a pretzel. He waited a week to visit New Orleans and then only to watch some jazz. He stood by Alberto Gonzales, who needs to be thrown out. We all know that. And he stood by Rumsfeld, who some people think is a war criminal. He can't pronounce the word nuclear. These are just some of the reasons that this guy needs to be thrown out of office.
Yes, but he didn't sleep with an intern.
Well, maybe he should. I'm just saying that
yes, you
if
have your way. You
wrong
have
in
a
this
way.
country, when we are continuing to support this administration, I am furious today over all of this.
I know you are.
And Al Gore makes me mad because he doesn't run. Now, he says in the interview yesterday with Larry King that he's not running because he thinks global warming is more important. Well, the President of the United States has more power than anybody in the world, and he needs to run for office if he wants to fix global warming and get us out of this mess that we're in. Everyone in the world hates
Al Gore could get us out. Al Gore.
Who else could? Who else could?
I knew I liked you, Sherry.
No, I'm just saying, Al Gore, I mean, I know what he's talking about with the Greenpeace and everything, but you really think Al Gore is the one that could get us
Why
out
not
of this
him?
mess?
What's his plan to keep us safe other than
He has a plan. Read the book. He has a lot of plans in that book. He doesn't just criticize the president. He also criticizes the media. And what
He was part of the media.
He said that when we had that O.J. Simpson trial, he thought that was an aberration. We would not be so stupid as to be watching nonsense like that constantly. That CNN was constantly doing. But it's not an aberration.
Isn't he using the media to promote his
Dancing
books and
with
his
the
films?
Stars instead of dealing with what's going on in
not
our own country.
Not instead of. You can watch Dancing with the Stars and also watch a lot of things that pertain to world politics, news, safety, etc.
How many people people watched him
Absolutely.
speak on CNN? I'd like to know.
It's called TiVo.
I'm just wondering.
I'll watch him tonight. It's on my TiVo.
I'm sorry, I wanted to see Layla and Apollo, but I did.
I don't think you're a bad person. You know, did you watch it?
I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm just saying nobody's interested.
People are interested. They just can do it on their own time. We're in a situation now where technology helps us.
We
I can
need
watch
to
him
be
tonight. I watched Racing
furious.
last night.
This country needs to be furious
It's
with
called
what's
the
going
election.
on.
Here's your opportunity, okay? We're a democratic society. You have the election in 2008 to change things.
Do you know how much damage this guy can do in a year and a half? He can invade Iran for all we know.
With Congress
They're talking
now
about
as is?
stuff like that. Congress cannot pass anything because he vetoes it and they can't override it because his cronies in the Republican Party stick by this president for
Well, they
political
stick by him
reasons.
for not demanding a pullout date for our troops, which is essentially saying to your enemies, I don't know any team out there. I don't know
He
any
doesn't have a
strategy
plan.
that says here's
It's
a big
saying to
date we are
the
going to
doesn't
have
have
our
a plan.
enemies.
To your enemies,
The
this is when
enemies
we
in
are going
Iraq.
to pull out.
The enemies in Iraq.
Al Qaeda.
Wait, the enemies in Iraq.
He didn't even go after
Elizabeth.
Osama bin Laden when he was supposed to.
Wait, Joy. You just said our enemies in Iraq. Did Iraq attack us?
No, I'm saying Al Qaeda.
Okay.
Is
Did
in
Iraq attack us, Elizabeth?
Iraq did not attack us,
Correct.
Rosie. We've been there before.
Well,
I'm saying our enemies, Al Qaeda. Are you hearing that?
I hear it, but where do you want to go, Bub? We're gonna.
Political discussion with
Right.
Don't interview each other. Just
If
say what
you're
you mean.
playing a game, okay? If you're playing a game and I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to throw to my wide receiver, wide right, okay? Do you do that? I'm going to do it in 2 seconds. What does that do for your enemy?
Well, you know what,
It gives them
Elizabeth?
time to
If the
plan.
enemy are innocent civilians, I don't want to play that kind of football.
The enemy are not innocent.
Iraq didn't attack us.
I am not innocent. Don't yell at each other. Enemy.
Please, let's have a
You know,
conversation.
you know why I don't want to do this, Joy?
won't
No,
do
let me
it.
tell you why I don't want to do
Let
it.
me do
Because
it.
here's how it gets spun in the media. Rosie, big, fat, lesbian, loud Rosie, attacks innocent, pure Christian Elizabeth. And I'm not doing it for the rest of the show.
Let me do it.
I haven't heard that line. Listen, I think that's unfair.
You should watch some of the shows that, you don't
I watch all
watch.
of them. You accused me of watching all of those shows yesterday.
I'm okay arguing with
You're
Elizabeth.
just as sensitive when I'm hurt as I am when you were.
Yes. But I
Every
don't
time
understand
you've
why
been
you're
hurt, did I reach
Why
out
are
to
you
you?
hurt by me?
Personal. There's a
And
war going
wait a
on
minute.
out there.
That is why I like watching Dancing with the Stars. This is exactly why.
I just don't understand why it's my fault if people spin words that you put out there or phrases that suggest things. And I gave you an opportunity 2 days ago to clarify the
I know,
statement
I
that
think
got
that's-
you in trouble on all those stations. I did that as a friend.
That got me in trouble. As a friend, you gave me the opportunity. That
I
was
said,
very.
hey, why don't you
That was very
clarify
sweet
that?
of you. What I was asking is you, who
Yes.
actually knows me.
Yes.
Do you believe I think our troops are terrorists, Elizabeth?
I don't
Yes
think
or
that you.
no?
I don't
Do
think
you
that
believe that? Yes or no?
Excuse me. Let me speak.
You're going to double
Okay.
speak. It's just a
I'm
yes
not
or a
double
no.
speak- I am not a double speaker, and I don't put suggestions out there that lead people to think things and then not answer my own question.
I had a
Okay?
question to you, and you didn't answer.
I don't believe that you believe troops are terrorists. I have said that before. But when you say something like 650,000 Iraqis are dead,
It's
we
true.
invaded them. Let me finish.
You don't like
Who
the
were
facts.
the terrorists? I am all about facts. You know that. You tell me not to use facts because you want me to go only on emotion. Guess what? I like facts.
I know,
like
but
them.
you hide behind the ones you like. You cherry pick them.
I don't hide. I don't cherry pick.
Did I or did I not give this panel a list of facts?
And you know what? Oh my gosh, we're going to be right back with Alicia Silverstone. No, we're not. No, because we have a lot more time.
And we're talking about, if you want to change the subject, that's something.
I was just opening. People were criticizing you for saying that because it suggested something, okay? So I said, look, take your opportunity now. You have a show right now to
I
tell
didn't
the
want
world
to take
what you
my
really think.
opportunity to tell the world. I
Why?
wanted to know what people like you, but you are my friend
Yes.
since September.
Yes.
Do you believe that I think our troops are terrorists?
I
and
do.
you would not even look me in the face, Elizabeth, and
What
say,
are you talking
no,
about?
Rosie. I can understand how
I asked
people
you.
might have thought that. Why don't you take this opportunity like I'm 6?
Because you are an adult, and I am certainly
So are
not
you.
going to be the person for you to explain your thoughts. They're your thoughts. Defend your own insinuations.
I defend my
Defend
thoughts.
your own thoughts.
Right, but every time I defend them, Elizabeth, it's poor little Elizabeth that I'm picking on.
You know what? Poor little Elizabeth is not poor little Elizabeth.
That's
okay?
right. That's why I'm not going to fight with you anymore because it's absurd. So for 3 weeks, you can say all the Republican crap you want.
You
I'm
know
not
what?
going to. I'm not going to
It's
do
much
it.
easier to fight someone like Donald Trump, isn't it? Because
he's obnoxious.
I've never fought him. He fought me. I told a fact about him. He didn't like
this
the conversation.
I was in the middle of this conversation.
Gave you an opportunity
You don't
to
give me anything. You don't have to give me. I asked you a question.
I asked you a question.
You wouldn't even answer
You
it.
didn't answer your own question.
Oh, Elizabeth, I don't want. You know what? You really don't understand what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying.
Come on, that's it.
I think it's sad because I don't understand how there can be such hurt feelings when all I did was say, look, why don't you tell everybody what you said? I did that as a friend.
All you did is not defend me. I asked you if you believed that I thought that.
You answered your own question. I don't believe that your suggestion was right.
Since September,
yes,
I have told you I support the truth.
I have done the same for you.
I asked you if you believed what the Republican pundits were saying.
Did I say yes?
You said nothing, and that's cowardly.
No.
Nothing.
That is not. Do not call me a coward because number one, I sit here every single day, open my heart, and tell people exactly what I believe.
So do I, Elizabeth.
Do not call me a coward, Rosie.
It was
I do
cowardly
not hide.
yesterday.
It was not cowardly. It was honest. What is cowardly?
Is there no commercial in this show?
I'll tell you what's cowardly. No. Asking a rhetorical question that you never answer yourself. That is cowardly.
It's directing the show. Let's go to commercial. Let's go to commercial.
I need a drink of water. Let's go to commercial.
The baby's fine. Here's the thing. Sherry Shepherd has a CD.
It will make you laugh.
And Alicia Silverstone will be out here to talk about being a vegan and how it can help your spiritual and mental health. We'll be right back after this.
Okay, so you see, they had a discussion, and that discussion went on. You have, when you are at a table and you have a discussion, everybody's not going to agree. And so I disagree with Whoopi Goldberg being suspended because she had a discussion and she had a difference of opinion. And because somebody didn't like it, and, you know, these people was trying to see how they could get off the View because they feel like, you know, they don't like Whoopi Goldberg. They feel like she's a loudmouth and all of this. They don't like her opinions and nothing. But this was okay to happen at this time, and I think it might have been around 2004, 2005 when this happened, and George Bush was in office, for Elizabeth to state her opinions, and you see that they did the split screen, and that was the controversy right there. Rosie did lead the View because her and Donald Trump at the time had some type of beefing going on. She said something about Donald Trump on The View, and he didn't like it. So he talked to Barbara Walter, and with this stuff happening, and that beefing going on with Donald Trump, Rosie had to leave The View. Now, she came back years later when Whoopi Goldberg was there. And then she left on her own terms, you know. So she came back for about a year. Okay? But this is not the first time that Elizabeth has done this. With this one right here.
Saturday Night Live is getting a lot of mileage out of this election. You know, the show that they did on Saturday was their highest rated show in ages, and so was the debate. The debate was the highest rated because everybody wanted to see it. But the SNL kids were at it again this past weekend. They worked it out. Check out what they did.
Hey, can I call you Joe?
Of course.
Okay, because I practiced a couple zingers where I call you Joe.
Okay, great. I love John McCain. He's one of my dearest friends. But at the same time, he's also dangerously unbalanced. I mean, let's be frank. John McCain, and again, this is a man I would take a bullet for, is bad at his job and mentally unstable. As my mother would say, God love him, but he's a raging maniac. And a dear, dear friend.
See, while Senator Biden has been in Washington all these years, I've been with regular people, hockey moms and Joe Six-Packs, and I'd also like to give a shout out to the third graders of Gladys Woods Elementary who were so helpful to me in my debate prep.
Governor Perry,
would you extend same-sex rights to the entire country?
You know, I would be afraid of where that would lead.
Let me just fast forward this. Okay. Okay, it was almost over.
Both credit, but especially Governor Palin, because she has to look at Tina Fey, who does, resemble her so much. By the way, that's Queen Latifah playing the Gwen Ifill girl. But she's so likable, Sarah Palin, whatever your political views are. She is. And obviously, she's got to watch this, or someone's got to say, did you see this? And have a sense of humor. Yeah, no, yes.
Yeah. I mean, kudos to Tina Fey, because she's writing 30 Rock, she's starring in 30 Rock, and then to go and give her time to do this she's wonderful.
Beautifully done, really actually.
Wonderful.
And, that's the good side of it. That's the light side of it. But both campaigns have gone on the attack now. Palin has been accusing Obama of palling around with terrorists, and Obama is accusing McCain of being involved with the Keating Five savings and loan scandal. Any thoughts?
Well, two things. The whole business about the terrorist is the relationship with
William Ayers.
Which was
the Weather Underground.
For years ago, he was friendly with this man whose life has changed. All of this was brought up during the Democratic campaign. It was, so now it's being rehashed and rehashed. We did it. It was discussed. It was in the past. His life has changed.
Why does it not matter, though? Why does it because it's in the past still means it's important. 9/11 is in the past. It's still important.
All right, let me go on. I don't also think there's any reason to bring up the Keating Five, which is the other side. In case you don't remember it, the Keating Five were 5 United States senators, one of whom was John McCain, who was accused of corruption in 1989, it was a major political scandal and had to do with the savings and loan, and they were accused of, I'm quoting, improperly intervening on behalf of Charles Keating, etc. Now, we can bring that up and dump that on John McCain now. Let's discuss the economy, for heaven's sakes. Let's discuss health care. Let's discuss insurance for kids. Let's not drag up just to discredit people on either side. There are much more important issues.
Here's the other thing also. I mean, one of the things that no one has talked about is, number one, Bill Ayers surrendered in 1980 to the federal government. He turned himself into the feds. He, like a lot of us in a certain generation, were pissed at the United States of America. Some were more radical than others. Some did stuff that, they shouldn't have done. And he turned himself in. He, I assume, rehabilitated himself, because from 1980 to now, I don't recall anyone saying in 2001, oh, we got to go get Bill Ayers, he's a terrorist. Let me just finish, because I know you have a lot to say. I don't think anyone has been looking at him as a terrorist until now. What someone's past is, and we talked a little bit about this, or maybe it wasn't you, maybe it was Bill, there are senators and congressmen that have pasts. And at some point, you have to say, 40 years ago, this is what you did, what are you doing now? Because otherwise, you have to say that the parents of the kids who are in his classes and the school itself and all of the faculty are carousing with the terrorists.
You know what?
I don't believe that is any better than John McCain having to rake John McCain over 17 years ago. And the other thing, let me just finish. And Barack Obama is not the terrorist. Let's make sure that we're clear that Barack Obama is not the terrorist. So linking him to people and we can link all of these guys to people. I'm done.
Okay, two things. One, John McCain was cleared of any charges. The Ethics Commission declared him, his actions cleared, and his actions not improper. Number two, in terms of, and I wish Sarah Palin would come out and be specific.
He's poor judgment.
They also said his actions were not improper.
It was poor judgment. It was lobbying.
Sure.
But don't you mind that both of them, can't we get away from smears?
No, because some of these things are not, this is not about smear. John McCain
can't get away from smears.
I don't believe that this is a smear. John McCain has been open about what happened with the Keating Five, and he was cleared. Number two, Barack Obama went to a party at William Ayers, and I wish Sarah Palin, when she addresses crowds, would get specific and say, not my opponent, not our opponent, and not a terrorist. Barack Obama went to the house of William Ayers, who is a U.S. terrorist.
In 2002.
It doesn't matter. After 9/11, William Ayers said he was unrepentant about his bombings and said that he wishes they had done more.
Wait. No, you don't. Elizabeth, when he made that comment, it was about his book. It was not about 9/11. That book just happened to come out. And it was 40 years ago when Obama was 8. There was a rabbi on the same block that threw a
Can I
party.
just ask you a question? You say you don't care. It doesn't matter when, how long, whether Barack Obama was friendly with him or not. You don't care. But wait. Doesn't it bother you with everything that's going on in this country that either side is going back to smearing? Is that
It's
the
the
way?
truth.
But the man is losing. The man is losing, and he's pulling out garbage that didn't work for Clinton. It's not going to work for him.
It doesn't matter, Whoopi, because here's the thing. This is not about winning or losing. This is what bothers me truly about Barack Obama, because when I heard him back, I really thought that there was hope for him. It bothers me that he's not open. Whether you agree with Sarah Palin or not, she's open.
He's not open. He did address when they in the primaries when they asked
He
him
wants
about
to hide all of his radical connections to Tony Roberts. He did not want to address.
He has addressed it.
He sat on the board. He sat on the board of
We'll be right back with even more hot topics. It's black.
Yeah, they needed to cut her off too because she was up there. Hold on for a second. I think I went back to play that over again. Because a lot of people like her was trying to consider Barack Obama to be a terrorist. But let me get to the fight that she had with Whoopi Goldberg, because you see what happened with her and Rosie O'Donnell, and you see how Rosie was looking after that, and they allowed Elizabeth to voice her opinion, whether people agree with her or not. Okay, so let me go. Oh, I shouldn't have erased her whole name. Let's see. Okay. Right here.
Cole, he's my
After
miracle
this
child.
commercial.
So how does your miracle child get
Well, a heated discussion about race quickly brought Elizabeth Hasselbeck to tears on today's episode of The View. The debate was over the use of the derogatory N-word. Whoopi Goldberg was arguing that the term had a place within the African-American community. Whoopi's argument clearly made Hasselbeck very upset.
I don't think there's an ounce of difference, and sometimes I think it's almost worse to use it privately than publicly.
No, that's not true.
I'm saying, are they equally as bad if I say it to someone in the privacy of my household? That's still bad. It's not a word that should be used. I think
Don't tell me I can't use that word. Because I use it.
Is it okay then to use it as it is still done and not okay for white people?
This is a word that has meaning when you give it meaning. I've never met. I have never gone to. I don't know any. There are about. You can try it.
We don't live in different worlds. We live in the same world.
We do live in different worlds. I'm sorry.
Well, you know
I'm
what?
sorry. It's the way it is, Elizabeth. This is the way it is.
We are living in this world, and we are living in a world where there is in the pop culture, when that world is then used, when they're this is upsetting to me because
Okay, just take a breath and let someone else talk.
But this is a conversation that is hard, and we're going to have it here, and we have it here well because we love each other.
Yes.
When we live in a world where pop culture then uses that term, and we're trying to get to a place where we feel like we're in the same place, and we feel like we're in the same world, how are we supposed to then move forward if we keep using terms that bring back that pain?
I have not heard anybody on this show say the word that you just said. They say the N-word. We're so afraid of it. If I said what you said, I would never hear the end of it. But I grant it. But when you say it, it's okay.
Well, now we want your view on the record live vote. Go to GretaWire.com and answer this question. Whose side are you on in this showdown? Whoopi or Elizabeth? We'll read your results at the end of the hour. On The View today, Whoopi Goldberg brought Elizabeth Hasselbeck to tears during an argument about race. Whoopi Goldberg says...
Okay, so you see that they have their difference of opinions. That people don't always agree at the table. And so it's like they allow Elizabeth to voice her opinion regardless of how, and not only Elizabeth, but other people as well. Let's go to... let's go to Donald Trump. There we go.
Donald Trump is a billionaire, a real estate mogul, and a television star. But does he really want to add President of the United States to his resume? A lot of people would like him to. Please, let's find out, and please welcome my friend, Donald Trump. Whenever you're on with us, we're very happy.
We love it.
Okay, so I'm going to take you at your word that you have not decided yet when you're going to run, but you're thinking about it, and you've expressed some of your views, which are controversial, and in many ways, but
not to her.
Well, not to her. Okay, you're a Republican, but let's say that you do decide in the spring, right? And your ideas resonate so much. On the other hand, we saw Newt Gingrich apologizing for his marriages and divorces. You've had 3 marriages, 2 sort of uncomfortable divorces. Do you think that the...
Not really. They were very comfortable.
Well, we won't review all that. Do you think that the country, that would bother anybody?
I think the country is doing so badly, they want somebody that's going to help it. I think the country has never been in a position like it is right now. It's being ripped off by every nation, every intelligent nation in the world, whether it's China. They're taking our jobs, they're making all our product, and then they loan us back the money, we pay them interest.
That is
whether
crazy.
It's OPEC, which is, they're having a field day right now. How about the Arab League? They say, we want you to go in and attack Libya. These are the wealthiest countries in the world. Why aren't they paying us?
Okay,
Why
so
aren't
then they changed their minds also. But you didn't answer my question.
No, I did answer your question. I really think
it won't matter?
I think maybe 10 years ago it would have mattered, 5 years ago. The fact is, I think people want somebody now that's going to protect them and protect this country, because we're not going to be a great country for long if we keep going the way we're going right now.
If you,
when we have, Barbara, when we have France leading the charge, okay? France, this is our new leader. By the way, they led for about 2 hours. After that, nobody's seen them. I don't know if you know that or not.
Geographically, so they
Let me just ask a follow-up question to that.
Lead is the point.
Let me just ask a follow-up question to that. Let's say you run. You've given a lot of thought for this. Who would you like as your vice president? Possibly Sarah Palin?
Well, I think it's far too early even to discuss that. I'm going to make a decision sometime prior to June. I'm thinking about it very strongly. I think I'd do a really good job. I think I'd protect this country like it's not being protected. It's funny. So many of the things I say, now politicians are saying, hey, that's right. Why aren't they paying us? If you look at North Korea, South Korea, we're protecting South Korea. They're making a fortune. Let's call it hundreds of billions of dollars of profit on us. We have 25,000 soldiers over there protecting them. They don't pay us. Why aren't they paying us?
You'd be treating this like a business.
No. A business with heart.
Okay.
Believe me, there's a lot of heart. It's a business, but it's also a business with heart. We will destroy this country. It won't be a war. If the economics of this country keep going the way they're going, we're not going to have a country.
You're kind of a social liberal, Donald. You're a social liberal. Could you actually get the base to vote for you in the primary?
Well, every poll is saying that I'm the one that does the best. They're doing polls.
They actually have you a higher approval rating than Mitt Romney, Tim Pawlenty, John Boehner. But out of those, if you're thinking of competition within the party to get the nomination, really your biggest competition will be, should you get the nomination, President Obama.
Well, I was the only one. A CNN poll just came out, as you probably saw, and I was the only one that was essentially tied with Obama. Everyone was 10 and 15 points down. So, we'll see. I haven't made a decision. I'll be making a decision, and I will do a good job if I decide yes and if I win.
Okay. I just was wondering, because you were talking about how all these countries have been doing this. You would admit that this has sort of been business as usual for the last 30 years. I mean, this is not, because it's nothing new. This has been going on. So you're saying you would come in and stop that practice.
But it's never been as bad as it is now. We've never had $1.6 trillion in deficits.
It was as bad when George Bush left office. So he was the one who left this.
You're right. Excuse me. I'm a Republican. George Bush, he gave us Obama. I'm not a big fan of GeorgeSh. I'm not a fan of Obamacare.
Talk about who gave who,
I know,
because
we're only going to get Whoopi's vote.
If you did, let me just ask, if you did beat...
And she likes me. She even put me in a movie.
I was just going to say.
She put me in a movie, right? A long time ago. How much did I judge? Nothing.
Like they say in the
It was a freebie.
If you did beat Obama, though, would you say you're fired to him if you did beat him in the general election?
I don't want to trivialize it. We have this show that turned out to be such a success, and maybe that's why I'm sitting here partially, because people have gotten to know me.
They respect it.
But what about this? You recently said about President Obama, I'm going to quote you, he grew up and nobody knew him. Nobody knows who he is until later in his life. The whole thing is very strange. What are you driving at there? Are you a birther, Donald?
Okay. Let me just tell you. I was a really good student at the best school. I'm not like a smart guy, okay? They make these birthers into the worst idiots. Why doesn't he show his birth certificate? I think he probably...
have to?
Because I have to, and everybody else has to, Whoopi.
I'm sure.
Why wouldn't he show... Excuse me. Why? No, excuse me. I really believe there's a birth certificate. Why... Look, she's smiling. Why doesn't he show his birth certificate? And you know what? I wish he would. Because I think it's a terrible pall that's hanging over him. He should show his birth certificate. The other thing, if you go back to my first grade, my kindergarten, people remember me. Nobody from those early years.
That's not true. We have pictures of them. What are you talking about?
Okay, show me a picture.
There are kids in Hawaii. There are people in Hawaii. There are people that he's grown up. No, as little kids.
Seen early pictures. But more importantly, why doesn't he? And you know what? I think he probably was, but the word probably would be...
Why do you have to defend himself against
you know why?
Against an accusation?
Because if you're going to be the president...
He's an American citizen.
Because if you're going to be the president of the United States, it says very profoundly that you have to be born in this country.
But did George Bush show me the president?
Probably he was.
No one has ever asked George Bush or said to George Bush, I'm sorry, is Hawaii not part of the United States?
George Bush. And I'm not saying I was a fan of George Bush.
No.
You know that better than anybody. But George Bush was born in this country. That's right.
Isn't Hawaii still part of the United States? Am I gone?
Do you question whether he was or not because he hasn't come forward with it?
I grew up in New York. Wall Street was a big part. I have seen fraud, and I have seen scandal, and I have seen things that a lot of people don't see. I've seen people take $100 bill and make it $1 million bill.
We're going to have to pause. Get to the point.
Okay. The point is, I can't rely on some newspaper that they show
in order to become president of the United States, in order to
I want him to show his birth certificate. I want him to show his birth certificate. There's something on that birth certificate that he doesn't like.
Oh my God!
That's a terrible thing.
Whoopi, I'm telling you. Whoopi, I love you. I'm telling you.
I love you too. I think that's the biggest pile of dog mess I've heard in ages.
The question is, why not show it, right?
There's something on his birth certificate he doesn't want to show.
It's not because he's black. The time you were born, what color you are. Any white president asked to be shown the birth certificate. When you become a president of the United States of America, you know that he's American. I'm saying that's BS.
Are you saying that it just only lets people have doubt?
Do you want to talk about The Apprentice?
It doesn't matter. It's doing good.
But we have to pause. We'll have more of this when we come back. setting a bad precedent, but we love him so we've asked Donald Trump to stay to the second segment. Real fast, could you beat Obama?
I think if I run and win and get the nomination, I definitely think I could beat Obama. We're doing very, very poorly as a country.
Okay,
I think I could beat him.
Answer is yes, you do. Okay.
Okay. Now, this was, I think it was around 2012, because they had the election that year, and Obama was a second, he was the president for 8 years, okay? Donald Trump did not run in that election. He ran at the 2016 election. He was thinking about it in 2012, and this is around that time. Okay, let's go to something that was controversy. Let's go to Bill O'Reilly when he was on The View. Okay, because they allowed Bill O'Reilly to come up there and say some stuff.
We gotta tell people that Liberty Mutual customizes car insurance, so you only pay for what you need. And we gotta do it fast.
Woo! New personal record, Lehman.
And I would show you that there was other people who had to leave the. There was other people who had to leave The View as well.
If you only list your vacation home on Airbnb.
Well, you heard our hot topics between the ugly mudslinging on the campaign trail to whether the Tea Party will be a game changer in the midterm elections. Politics are so intense right now that it is the perfect time for a visit from the man who has just released his 9th book titled Pinheads and Patriots. We'll talk about that in a bit. Please welcome Bill O'Reilly.
OCD or, germ phobias? Is that what you do?
No. I just want to get to the chase here. So many questions. I know you have.
Yeah, so, okay.
Look at you. Every time I come on here, how did this happen?
Now, let me tell you, he did that fist bump because that's what Michelle Obama and Barack Obama does. They do a fist bump. If you notice, when Barack was running for the first time for the presidency, he did a fist bump with his wife. And, of course, Fox News made a big deal about it. Now, around this time, I believe Bill O'Reilly was on Fox News. Okay? And he has said a lot of stuff that was very controversial. Very controversial. So, here we go.
Bill, I have a case of gas. That's all that's bothering me. It's not you.
Seems to happen when you're here.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say some right-wing plot or something.
No, just gas.
Just gas. All right. Well, so while we're gassing here, so Republicans, November election, they say that the Republicans are going to come out on top. What do you think?
It's hard to predict this stuff because stuff goes in and out, and it's tightening up in places like West Virginia and Washington State now. So I don't make predictions, but I will say it is a referendum on President Obama. That is what this vote is about. It's not about the individual candidates. It's about him. And people on the right, conservative people, are angry, so they're more likely to come out than the people on the left.
Are you angry?
Not really, because, the Fox News channel did not suffer in this recession. We prospered in this recession, and I feel kind of guilty about it because a lot of my friends, working-class people, are not doing well. But we did great. So, I'm not angry about that. I'm always a little teed off.
Okay, did y'all catch what he said? He said a lot of his friends, the working class people. Now, why did he have to throw that in there? A lot of his friends from Fox News, the working class people. Why do you have to throw that in there? If Fox is known, some of their anchor people are, to me, they are very biased. I have watched some of these Fox shows with Hannity and a couple of other people, even Judge Janine, and she can be a trip at times. But let me play that again if I can.
Class people are not doing well.
Okay, hold on for a second.
prospered in this recession, and I feel kind of guilty about it because a lot of my friends, working class people, are not doing well. But we do great. So, I'm not angry about that. I'm always a little teed off about politics because I think they're a bunch of phonies, and I don't think most of them look out for us in either party.
Well, I know your show is always a Bill O'Reilly's show gets some big numbers. I know that, Bill. But now you're up against Spitzer.
Who?
Elliot Spitzer on CNN.
Not everybody's as inside as you are.
No, Elliot Spitzer is on CNN opposite Bill O'Reilly.
Well, we wish him well. It's a competitive marketplace, and he's there. He gets his shot.
I wish him well, but that's...
No, I really don't. I don't care what he does. I mean, I'm not that kind of guy. I don't think. But look, I'm not one of these guys. I want to kill him. There's a few people I want to kill, but he's not one.
Who do you want to kill? Who do you want to kill? You're looking at me very sexually now.
No, I'm not that kind of guy. There's a couple of people who I'm not going to name their names because that gives them publicity, but who are nasty and hateful, and I don't like those people.
One thing you do on your show every night is you show Obama's dropping approval ratings. Now, do you think
I don't do that every night, Sherry. Okay. I only do it when the new poll comes out, which is my job to do it. If it goes up, I'll show that.
In fairness, I've seen that as well.
Do you think it's because of the economy?
Of course.
That is
two things, and that's an excellent question. Two things are driving President Obama's poll numbers down and driving him individually crazy because he didn't expect any of this. The economy is just flat. All right, numbers came out today. Again, they're not good. So that's number one. But number two...
But then he inherited a lot of it.
But that statute of limitations will run out on that. He spent $1 trillion. Whoa! Yeah. Look, when you spend $1 trillion trying to turn it around, it doesn't work, that's on you, okay? It's not on the pinheads before you. Macroeconomics is not my deal. I'm just explaining why his numbers are down. So the people see $1 trillion of their tax money and nothing to show for it yet. But they also see a widening gulf between the president and them personally. And that's what I write about in Pinheads and Patriots. All right, let me give you an example. The mosque down here on 9/11. That's inappropriate. It's sure they have a right to do it, and the Constitution, but it's inappropriate because a lot of the 9/11 families, who I know, say, "Look, we don't want that. That shouldn't be there."
But what about the discussion?
No. But there's the president. There's the president going, "Well, they have a right to do it." Yes, and then the guy says, and then
this is America.
Hold it. Listen to me because you'll learn. All right. Thank you. So he says to the press, they have a right to do it, and that's true. Yeah. And then the question is, but what about the wisdom of it, Mr. President? And he goes, I'm not going to comment. Whereupon everybody in the country goes, what?
Well, wait a minute. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. So you're saying that Americans are not smart enough to recognize that while it is part of our Constitution to say freedom of religion and freedom to worship, and there were 70 families who are Muslim who also died in that building. So you're saying that that his saying that they have the right to do it and not saying any more than that is why his approval rating is gone down?
I'm showing that there is a gulf between Americans wanted to know what his opinion was on the issue, and he wouldn't give it.
We're Americans.
That's one thing.
But
You agree with it.
No, we're Americans. I'm an American.
Let me break this to you. 70% of Americans don't want that mosque down there. So don't give me the weed business.
I want to see that.
You want to bet on that? You want to bet? I'll show you that poll in a minute.
Americans
70% don't want it.
But why is that? But why aren't we saying
it's inappropriate?
Why is it inappropriate when 70 families died? What are you
killed us on 9/11?
Oh my God! That is.
Muslims didn't kill us on 9/11? Is that what you're saying?
Excuse me, extremists.
What religion were they in?
What religion was Mr. McVeigh? Mr. McVeigh was an extremist as well, and he killed people.
70% of the country. You're outraged about Muslims killing us on 9/11.
Something to all of you. You have just seen what should not happen. We should be able to have discussions without washing our hands and screaming and walking off stage. I love my colleague. It should not have happened. Now, let me just say to you in a calmer voice, it was extremist. You cannot take a whole religion and demean them because of what some... Yes, you are.
No, I'm not.
When you say that it was Muslim...
If that's what you think.
That's what we think.
Extremists. Here's the issue, and this is what has to be understood.
You've got to make a distinction,
if anybody felt that I was demeaning all Muslims,
Yes,
that's what
Can I say, do you think the problem, though, Bill, is that if we go back in time, early in this administration, the president himself said we weren't allowed to use the word terrorist early on. So then he started using the word, hang on, hear me out. He started saying the word, he started saying radical Islamists, radical Muslims. So then there was then a closer association with what happened and the religion. I think if he would have just let us say terrorists, because there are terrorists across all religions and all faiths, then this wouldn't even be a problem.
So here's the book.
Okay.
We only have a minute.
No, we have more time coming back.
He's
afraid to say the word.
We're back because now you apologize. You apologize.
Look, but that's not the issue. The issue is that it's inappropriate because of the context of what happened on 9/11. And if I was inartful in explaining that, but Muslim fanatics, terrorists, whatever word, killed us. There are 100 mosques in New York City. Okay? They can move it away and nobody's going to bother.
Okay, but the issue of the mosques, which is an issue that seems to some degree to have dissipated, and we're talking about Obama in general, may not be the major issue as to why his popularity is down.
Separated the president from the folks.
Okay, now, you have written a book, and we're going to come back and talk about it, called Pinheads and Patriots. And at this point, it's very hard to see which you are. We'll be right back.
Okay, so you can see right there, he said something very controversial. He said that it was Muslims that, had driven out. Now, the guys who did fly those planes into those buildings in 9/11 was Muslim, but it was not the whole Muslim race. Okay? And that was the thing. It was people like him and others who... Now, he vocally attacked them, the whole Muslim, but because you have black Muslims as well as Muslims that live in the Middle East, okay? Because you have a lot of black Muslims that live in the United States of America, okay? Malcolm X was a Muslim. But there was extremists that took those planes and drove them into those buildings, into the World Trade Center, and killed thousands of people. Okay, those were extremists. The Islam faith, I don't follow it that well, but a lot of the people who are Muslims say that it's about love and everything else. That it's not about violence and being that extreme. Those are people who are extreme, and we have Christian extremists too, called the KKK. That's one of the Christian extremist groups. Okay. So you can see that he was very controversial. He says a lot of stuff, and they kind of correct him right on the show. But that wasn't a genuine apology because he went back there on Fox. There were times where he was sitting there talk about slavery and talk about they had a house. They was provided shelter and food and all that. They don't they just don't talk about the severity of slavery and how cruel and harsh it was for people of color. They don't talk about that. I could show you, there were other places where Sean, the press secretary at the time, I forget his last name, he got up there and said that chemical weapons wasn't used on the Jewish people, and then he had to come back and apologize. So, but again, they suspended Whoopi Goldberg for her comments, and it was an open discussion. It was an open table discussion, and she had a right to have a difference of opinion. And that, she knew that the Holocaust was wrong. It was done wrong against a group of people, but it was against their ethnicity, not so much against the fact that they was of a different race, they was of a different ethnicity, but Hitler seen them as somebody who was inferior to other German people. He didn't see them as equal to white men, you know. So let me bring up forget that girl's name. Oops, let me get this out the way. Maybe it might. Oh yeah, when Raven had made a comment about not hiring people with the name Watermelon, something like that.
Enough about Trump. Now let's talk about you. Adios, America. Of course, I say hola, America, but all right. So you wrote your book, Adios, America, the left's plan to turn our country into a third world hellhole. Yeah. And your stance on immigration is part of why you like Trump. You've said that you are a one-issue voter now. Tell us, what does this provocative title mean? Explain it to us.
Well, I say it, adios, America.
I say adios, America.
Right. What it means is that the nation that has been so welcoming to immigrants, to women, to children, is an amazingly successful nation. And the Democrats do it for the votes. The rich do it for the cheap labor and the cheap maids. They strut around like they're Martin Luther King. No, who is our immigration policy hurting? And this is the post-1965 immigration. We're bringing in millions and millions of people from very poor cultures, from very backwards cultures. No, our social programs are for the American poor. They are for jobs for the American working class.
Two immigrants, and I don't think either of us qualify as poor maids. But I wanted to ask you, what's your family's immigration story? Are you a Native American?
Why, yes, I am. I'm a settler. I'm descended from settlers, not from immigrants.
Oh, it's not a Native American.
But
I have a question for you.
It's just an... No, if you mean Indian... If you mean... Well, no, but I'm not living in Cherokee Nation, so I am not an immigrant to Cherokee Nation. I'm living in America, which was created by settlers, not immigrants.
I have a question.
But
can I interrupt you for 2 seconds, please?
Yes, the poor.
I have a question. My mom taught me when I was younger, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And why do you think that it's important? Why do you think that's important to mudsling and have these words that obviously touch the hearts and souls of so many people of America being said when we're taught something different as a child? Could you explain that to me? And why do you think your success is based off of that?
Well, I'm at least talking about policy. You have a position on what people's names should be. Watermelondria. I mean, you'll insult people for their names. I'm talking about a government policy that affects all Americans and immigrants and the people living here, and it's harming our country.
So
you don't follow it.
Are you against?
Okay.
Are you against all immigration or just illegal immigration?
No, right now the entire immigration system, the bureaucracy has got to be shut down because it is being used to serve, again, the business elites, the upper classes, the people who get to have all the cheap maids. It's driving down.
Again with the maids.
Well, it's true though.
But that's not.
Okay, so you see, she was very controversial. Okay, again, what she just said right there. Let me play that again.
Enough about Trump. Now let's talk about you. Adios, America. Of course, I say hola, America, but all right. So you wrote your book, Adios, America, the left's plan to turn our country into a third world hellhole. Yeah. And your stance on immigration is part of why you like Trump. You've said that you are a one-issue voter now. Tell us, what does this provocative title mean? Explain it to us.
Well, I say it, adios, America.
I say adios, America.
Right. What it means is that the nation that has been so welcoming to immigrants, to women, to children, is an amazingly successful nation, and the Democrats do it for the votes. The rich do it for the cheap labor and the cheap maids. They strut around like they're Martin Luther King. No, who is our immigration policy hurting? And this is the post-1965 immigration. We're bringing...
Okay, now that right there, that was a mess, what she just said. That the Democrats do it... when she said the rich do it for the cheap labor and the cheap maids and they strut around like Martin Luther King, that was a mess. That was a mess right there.
No, who is our immigration policy hurting? And this is the post-1965 immigration. We're bringing in millions and millions of people from very poor cultures, from very backwards cultures. No, our social programs are for the American poor. They are for the American working class.
Two immigrants, and I don't think either of us qualify as poor maids. But I wanted to ask you, what's your family's immigration story? Are you a Native American?
Why, yes, I am. I'm a settler. I'm descended from settlers, not from immigrants.
Okay, she said she was a Native American. She was a descendant of settlers and not from immigrants. And said that the Cherokee Nation were immigrants, which the Cherokee Nation was here in America way before the early settlers. So right there, that is very controversial.
The Democrats do it for the votes. The rich do it for the cheap labor.
Okay, so the Democrats do it for the votes, and the rich do it for the cheap labor, and all of that. So she looks down on people of color as well. Okay, and you know that was their way of trying to get Mexicans to basically go back to their country or whatever else, even though a lot of Mexicans are legally here. But and I'm not for illegal immigration myself, I'll just say that, but she is not for immigration, period. So what she was saying was very controversial. The rich do it and they walk around like if they're Martin Luther King. Let's listen to that again.
Amazingly successful nation, and the Democrats do it for the votes. The rich do it for the cheap labor and the cheap maids. They strut around like they're Martin Luther King. No, who is our immigration policy hurting? And this is the post-1965 immigration. We're bringing in millions and millions of people from very poor cultures, from very backwards cultures. No, our social programs are for the American poor. They are for the American working class.
Two immigrants, and I don't think either of us qualify as poor maids. But I wanted to ask you, what's your family's immigration story? Are you a Native American?
Why, yes, I am. I'm a settler. I'm descended from settlers, not from immigrants.
Oh, it's not a Native American.
But I
have a question for you.
It's just an... No, if you mean Indian... If you mean... Well, no, but I'm not living in Cherokee Nation, so I am not an immigrant to Cherokee Nation. I'm living in America, which was created by settlers,
so she was saying she's not an immigrant of Cherokee Nation. Okay, I misunderstood. She said she's not an immigrant to Cherokee Nation. In other words, she don't live in Cherokee Nation. She live in America. Now, the Cherokee Indians were not the only tribe that was in America before the early settlers. There were other tribes of Indians, the Navajo, the Iroquois, the Mohawks, the different tribes of Indians. So, but she said, oh, I'm a Native American because I was settler, you know. And a lot of white people think that, you know, think the same way as she do, okay? She is the type of person, not all white people think like she do. Trust me, okay? But how the way she's thinking is I totally disagree with it. And this is very controversial to me. I mean, she is showing that she is very biased. And she be on Fox News from time to time, too. And Fox News, they very biased. And I know all these news outlets, like CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, all of that, they voice their opinion on how they feel when it comes to politics. So I don't agree 100% with all those news outlets.
For 2 seconds, please. Yes, I have a question. My mom taught me when I was younger, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And why do you think that it's important? Why do you think that's important to mudsling and have these words that obviously touch the hearts and souls of so many people of America being said when we're taught something different as a child? Could you explain that to me? And why do you think your success is based off of that?
Well, I'm at least talking about policy. You have a position on what people's names should be. What are melandria? I mean, you'll insult people for their names. I'm talking about a government policy that affects all Americans and immigrants and the people living here, and it's harming our country.
Now, I don't know if it was a show ago or if it was on this same show where Raven Simone, she came under fire for saying she would not hire somebody with the name Watermelon Drea. And other things that she has said that got her basically removed from the show. Okay, but you see where Elizabeth Hasselbeck had her opinions and said what she wanted to say and all that, and I just showed some of it. The other girl that left, John McCain's daughter, Meghan McCain, she stated her opinions and told how she felt and all of this stuff about whatever they was talking about, and she left on her own terms. Whoopi Goldberg stood up there and say the Holocaust was not about race, it was about humanity, but she should have had worded different and said it wasn't race, it was ethnicity, because Jewish people, that's their ethnicity. To be a Jew, that's ethnicity. That's not a race. Being a Jew is not talking about your race, it's talking about your ethnicity, just like Chinese or Asian people, that's their ethnicity. And I think that she would have been okay. And if somebody still would have disagreed with it, then it is what it is. I just showed you guys in the beginning what the difference between race and ethnicity. Because race has a lot to do with your skin color. It has a lot to do with skin color. And to be honest, the original Hebrews, a lot of the Hebrews that's in the Bible were dark complexion. They were people of color. And if you look at a lot of Arabians and stuff, you have a lot of them that are light-skinned and dark-skinned. And that was the same way you have Jewish people that are light-skinned and dark-skinned. So with Hitler, he didn't like these Jews because he felt like his race of people, well, and again, he felt like he probably seen it as a race. Just like a lot of people did. And he thought that the white man was more superior. Now, before I go, because my battery is getting low, let's look at
So you don't follow it? Are you against?
Let's look at Hitler right quick, because Hitler was a very evil person. But he was also a Satanist, and people didn't know that. Now, if I look at hold on for a second. Let me go right here. What did Hitler believe in? We know that he was a Nazi. Ideology, and I'm trying to find one thing. Okay. Some people still believe in the image of Hitler, the pious, and use it as a weapon against religion, while others recoil in horror at the thought that Hitler could have been religious. One of the most famous atheists in the world, Richard Dawkins, cross-sword intellectually with Pope Benedict, I think it's the 16th, over the religious identity of Hitler and Nazism. On his papal visit to Britain in September 2010, Benedict harshly criticized atheism and secularism while lauding Britain for having fought against a Nazi tyranny that wished to eradicate God from society. So let me see. This controversy over Hitler's religion, as well as the relationship between religion and Nazism in general, has raged since Hitler emerged as a significant political figure in Munch. Is it Munch? You have to forgive me. I'll say Munich. In the early 1920s. Otto Strasser, a leader in the early Nazi movement who broke away from Hitler in 1930s, told his brother in the late 1920s why he was increasingly dissatisfied with Hitler. "We are Christians. Without Christianity, Europe is lost. Hitler is atheist, despite the fact that Hitler never renounced his membership in the Catholic Church before he seized power in 1933, and for about 2 months thereafter, the Catholic hierarchy forbade Catholics from joining the Nazi Party because they viewed Hitler movement as fundamentally hostile to their faith. In 1937, Pope Pius the 11th, I believe, condemned the Nazi regime not only for persecuting the church. They didn't prosecute it, they persecuted the Catholic Church and harassing its clergy, but also for teaching ideology that conflicted with Catholic doctrines. The White Rose, a student resistance movement at the University of I would say Munch. Hold on for a second. We just don't call it Munich. Okay, so University of Munich, that espoused Catholicism, wrote in the 1942's anti-Nazi pamphlet, "Every word that issues from Hitler's mouth is a lie. When he say peace, he means war. When he most sinfully names the name of the Almighty, he means the force of evil, the fallen angel Satan." Oops. Hans and Sophie Skroll and other White Rose activists were Gallatin after they were caught disturbing leaflet denouncing the Roman ocracy in Eastern Europe and encouraging their fellow Germans to oppose the regime. And yet Hitler was incredibly popular during the Third Reich, almost to the very end. Most Germans who voted for Hitler or joined his party considered themselves good Christians, and many of them hailed Hitler as the protector of Christianity from the godless communists. Some Protestant pastors and Catholic priests joined the Nazi Party and cheered Hitler on, and some internationally respected Protestant theologians climbed aboard the Nazi juggernaut too. By the mid-1930s, about 600,000 German Protestants had joined the German Christian movement, which synthesized Nazi ideology and liberal Protestant theology. In the 1933s, Hitler publicly promoted the German Christian candidate in the Protestant church election, giving encouragement to those who hope for an amalgamation of Christianity and Nazism. Some argue that what Hitler believed in were most nefarious beliefs. The conflicting views of Hitler as atheist or Hitler as devout Christian were further complicated by the widespread view of Hitler as a disciple of the occult. Hitler's evil was so intense and inexplicable that some suspect he must have had supernatural connections with the underworld that enabled him to sway the masses and rise to power in Germany. Myriads of books and films purport to prove Hitler was a follower of the black arts. So what did Hitler believe in? He was an atheist, a Christian, or an occultist. Okay? I'm sorry, was he an atheist, a Christian, or occultist? He was none of these three. He was not an atheist because he sincerely believed in the existence of God. He was not a Christian because the God he believed in was not Jesus Christ or the God of the Christian Bible. He was not an occultist because he overtly rejected occult beliefs and mystical practices. What Hitler believed in was pantheism, or if not pantheism, at least close to it. He believed that nature or the entire cosmos and God. At first glance, it might seem that Hitler pantheistic worship of nature is incidental, a bit of trivial that does little or nothing to help us understand the man and the atrocities that he committed. But to suppose this would be a mistake. Hitler's devotions to nature as a divine being had a grim corollary. Y'all forgive me. Corollary. Okay, the laws of nature became his infallible guide to morality. Whatever conformed to the laws of nature was morally good, and whatever contravened nature and its ways was evil. When Hitler explained how he hoped to harmonize human society with the scientific laws of nature, he emphasized principles derived from Darwinian theory. And we know Darwin was into evolution, all of that stuff. Especially the racist form of Darwinism, prominent among Darwin German disciples. These laws included human biological inequality, especially racial inequality, the human struggle for existence and natural selection, and Darwinian struggle for existence, multitude perish, and only a few of the fittest individuals survive and reproduce. If this is nature's way, Hitler thought, then he should emulate nature by destroying those destined for death. Thus, in his twisted vision of religion, he believed he was serving his God by annihilating the allegedly inferior human and promoting the welfare and prolific reproduction of the supposed superior Aryan. Okay, so Hitler was, of course, we know he was racist. He didn't care about, he felt like white people was the superior race, superior beings. And that's why the Holocaust happened. He needed to blame the Jews, and the Jews have been persecuted for years and years. So has black people. So, like I said, The View is a panel where you can openly discuss your opinions, and Whoopi Goldberg had every right to discuss her opinions about the Holocaust. Okay, I don't think she said anything that was controversial or wrong where that was concerned. But again, a lot of people have been wanting Whoopi off. They've been wanting Whoopi off, and and now I think that she is threatening to quit. And of course, you can see the guy from Fox News doing this interview or something like that,
about sunlight, weather,
or doing this. I'm sorry, not an interview. He's also. He's not doing an interview. What he's doing is doing a commentary. That's what I mean. He's doing his commentary on Whoopi Goldberg.
With the decision. Here's how the.
Okay, and Fox News is probably having a field day with this anyway, because they are a very conservative news outlet, and they are probably one of the people who want Whoopi Goldberg off The View. Okay, even though The View is basically a liberal panel, and these guys right here on Fox News consider themselves to be conservative. So let's listen to him.
After getting suspended from the show for 2 weeks over her comment about the Holocaust. Whoopi's co-hosts are said to be furious with the decision. Here's how the show very briefly addressed it today.
You all saw the news. Whoopi will be back here in 2 weeks. Okay?
Is that how you do it, Dana?
Well, having done that a couple times in my career, look, I think that's what the producers must have said.
Yep.
Hit it and get out and move on, and that's what they have to do. I don't know anybody who is calling for her to be fired that I know of, that I listen to, that I follow. But I imagine that inside ABC News, or ABC, excuse me, the outcry amongst the employees and the staff must have been high enough that the executive said, we have to do something. Right. They felt compelled that they had to do something. The apology made it worse. And so setting that aside, so they make a decision, they suspend her for 2 weeks. She's probably furious about it. She's going to sit there, and you think it's like, what did they say? We want her to go back and reflect on it. Like when your mom sent you to your room and she's like, are you ready to come out yet? And my sister would always say, no, I love my room. But I would be mortified. I hated to have to be sent to my room. So that's the kind of punishment that's like when you're a kid. That's what you feel.
What about you, Judge? Do you think she understands what she did wrong, and now that she's facing suspension, she's like, you know what, screw it, I'm just going to quit?
Yeah, she may quit. I don't know. I don't have a hotline to Whoopi these days. But here's the thing. She doesn't know that she was wrong. She sees it as white race, all oppressors, and blacks are the victims, okay? But aside from that, the whole idea of her needing time to reflect and learn, I think is very important. I really do. Because when you have anti-Semitic behavior, a lot of it is ignorance. They don't understand the enormity of one of the greatest hate crimes the world has ever seen. And when I was DA, I took all the DAs from New York State down to the Holocaust Museum in Washington. You want to see evidence of a hate crime, go to the Holocaust Museum. Oh, yeah. Go to Simon Wiesenthal. Learn about the pain. Learn what a swastika does to someone who is a survivor of the Holocaust. I mean, they don't understand it. It's just I can't believe that she has any idea of the harm that statement caused a lot of people.
So ABC's got to be thinking, could we cut her loose after 2 weeks? She's got a hefty salary. She could be damaged goods. Gutfeld, what would you do if you were running ABC?
Oh man, unicorns 24/7, buddy. They should be applauding her. This is a historical first for The View. She said the Holocaust wasn't about race. This is the first time in The View's history where they said something wasn't about race. So I don't know. If you're looking for an analogy that will piss you off, remember how Chris Harrison got fired from The Bachelor? Yeah. Except what he said or did was nothing compared to this. Having said that, even though she enjoys liberal privilege, it's interesting. If you think about liberal privilege too much, you come to this conclusion that you have fewer rights than liberals do. In the world of free speech, there are just things we can't say because we'll get canned. So and it's something that people don't really understand or talk about it. But just think if you at home change your political ideology to be a liberal and think about the things that you could say. Mm-hmm. It opens up a whole new world.
It's enticing.
It is enticing. If you want to sell out, let's do it for 1 week. But she apologized. So that's what makes us different. We're accepting her apology. Joy and company sulked over this, even though just a few days before, Joy was saying Rogan cannot be reformed, and they love getting people canceled. The last thing I want to say is that she did do a service by illustrating the core racist belief of critical race thinking. She did it by accident. The CRT cult cannot acknowledge Jewish suffering because that undermines the hierarchy of oppression. The top of the oppression has to be white. It's just like the food pyramid. We're like the fats.
What's that word that they use? It's intersectionality.
Yes.
Wow. That was a first for the five. All right, Harold. It doesn't seem to be like a huge... There's not people outside ABC with signs, Whoopi must be fired. This has to be coming from the inside.
So I hope say three quick things. I hope that those on The View and others who have espoused for people to be fired and have really embraced cancel culture recognize this is the reason you can't embrace cancel culture. 2, I disagree with you, Judge. I think she realized what she did was wrong. And I think she learned. I think whenever you apologize for something and you're sincere, especially if it has to do with gender and race and culture, and you say, what, I didn't realize I was talking about a race, that race was actually a part. I'm glad the Anti-Defamation League had called her and explained to her that I actually believe she was telling the truth there. Now, she learned cancel culture has to end, and I hope not only The View, but every show. James Carville has said this over and over again, particularly to my party, those progressives in my party and others, who at any slight want to fire someone. Not only want to fire them, want to banish them from ever being able to have a voice or a presence again. It should all stop. And hopefully maybe with Whoopi's suspension, this is one of the positive things that comes from it.
Well, I love the fact that you're so peaceful. You're a peaceful man, and that you like to think that she is redeemed. I don't know how she got redeemed between Stephen Goldberg the next morning, but what I think is interesting is that the co-hosts are furious that she was put on suspension for 2 weeks.
You love it, don't you, Judge?
No, she would say that because remember I said I need to let this finish.
Here's the thing: how do they survive without Whoopi?
Yeah.
They couldn't even say pre-planned vacation.
Whoopi goes to CNN as the new CEO.
I like that.
With Joe
Rogan.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe.
Okay, so anyway, she did say something that was true at the end. How would the show survive without Whoopi? Because that would be very interesting. And of course, you got Anna Nevere, I think that's her name, She's on there. Let's see. Let me leave Whoopi Goldberg name up there. And let's just watch this because after Judge Janine was on, they show Whoopi, going off.
No insurance? No problem. Book today and let us do anything to make you smile.
Alka-Seltzer, plop, plop, fizz, fizz. Oh, what a relief it is. So fast.
Things got heated on The View yesterday when Judge Janine was on to promote her new book. Now, she's a Fox News personality, and while the entire segment was heated, things took a turn when Janine suggested that Whoopi has Trump derangement syndrome.
Here's my question for you, because you talk about.
I am not, Judge.
Nobody is.
Oh, yeah.
Did you just point at me?
Yes.
Listen, I don't have Trump derangement. Let me tell you what I have.
Okay.
I have a lot of. I'm tired of people starting a conversation with Mexicans or liars and rapists. I'm tired of people starting a conversation about this country. Listen, I'm 62 years old. There have been a lot of people in office that I didn't agree with, but I have never, ever seen anything like this. I've never seen anybody whip up such hate. I've never seen anybody be so dismissive. And clearly you don't watch the show, so you don't know that I don't suffer from that. What I suffer from is the inability to figure out how to fix this. That's my issue. But one of the things that you talk about a lot, and I'm curious about it, is the deep state. How long has the deep state been there, and who's running it?
Well, I want to answer your question because you
asked me a question.
You had in your opening statement, which was how horrible it is that Donald Trump is talking about all of these people.
Sorry,
you know what
that's what you said. You said.
But you know what's horrible? When people who shouldn't be here end up murdering the children of American citizens.
You know what's horrible?
What's horrible?
When the president of the United States whips up people to beat the hell out of people.
No.
Say goodbye.
Jennifer says Whoopi spoke the truth. Now, TMZ caught up with Janine yesterday after the show, and here's what she had to say about being at the table with the ladies.
Did you regret anything that happened or what went down today at the View?
Look, I don't mind 4 against 1. I can handle it. But I don't like being mistreated by people who invite you to have a discussion and then treat you like you're less than human.
What message do you have for Whoopi after she kicked you out?
I don't have a message for Whoopi. I tried to talk to her. She didn't want to listen.
She's fierce, that Judge Janine knows. She's like, it's funny, I met Judge Janine at the Trump inauguration.
I know, I was there with you. Do you remember what happened?
That's right, yes.
Do you remember what happened?
I don't remember what happened. What happened?
Yeah, so we're standing on the street. We'll get to the rest of the street. Yes. We're standing on the street.
So what happened?
And did you know her at that point?
I did know her,
Okay, I didn't know who she was.
Yeah.
So we're standing there waiting for our ride.
Yeah.
And she was standing there with whatever producer or cameraman.
Right.
And a couple people started to come up asking her for photos.
Right.
So that was like clued in. I guess this person must be someone.
Yeah.
And so she kind of just yelled out, someone needs to take the picture for us. So I said, sure, I'll take the picture.
Right.
So I took the picture, and she could tell that she was confused on why I wasn't, having any kind of moment where like, oh, it's Judge Janine?
Right.
So she eventually said, she kind of introduced herself, and then she said, where are you from?
Yeah.
And I said, Toronto. As soon as I said Toronto, I found her whole demeanor changed. Her whole approach to me changed. I guess she just thought I was going to have a certain kind of view. So then, she just asked, are you excited?
That's right.
Are you excited about the Trump? Because this is the day before.
Yeah.
She said, are you excited about Trump being in office. And I said, I can honestly say I'm excited to see what happens.
Yes.
And she said good answers. So that was our judge.
As soon as Toronto, she knew everything she needed to know.
Yeah, as soon as it said
and
Toronto.
wanted to know nothing else.
No, she was done right away.
As soon as they found out we were from Toronto, that's right. But yeah, people love her, and you could tell in that clip too. Before it got heated, when Judge Jeanine was making points, there were a few people in the audience that were applauding. Like she had her fans there because she does have tons of viewers. But then as it started getting more, people just were like, no, I can't do that. Not in this room. I am not clapping for that. Now, Page Six reported yesterday that what happened once the show went to commercial break, they said the shouting continued with Whoopi and Jeanine trading insults, among other things. And the ladies of The View often shoot these tabloid reports down about all the fighting backstage. But today, Whoopi confirmed it was all true.
And I want to be very clear about what happened. So there's a lot of spin that she's doing, and I can't do anything about that, but I can tell you what went on. She was upset when she got here because Ana Navarro was here instead of Joy. And after the segment, which ended when it was supposed to, it was not early, it was not late, it ended when it was supposed to, she then called everybody at the table a name I cannot repeat on TV and said it in front of the audience. When I came off stage, I went over there because I was a little hot. Okay, so I went to calm down. She came off. She could have just passed me. She didn't need to stop, but she stopped and put her finger in my face and yelled, I've done more for victims than you ever will. Then I said to her some few choice words I cannot repeat. Yes, I did say it. I did say it. But I did not spit on her. I did not intimidate her. No one chased her out of here saying get out. But she did leave here cursing at the people who booked the show. She cursed at the guys who do the security for the show. We treat everybody with respect. But you cannot come and call people names. You cannot point at people, and you can't do this to people. And people who know Jeanine know exactly what I'm talking about. They know that she likes to stir it up. I rarely get stirred up, but I got stirred up yesterday. I did apologize for getting hot. I said it doesn't happen often.
It's like on YouTube says that woman is a predator. I don't know which one he's talking about. Brenda says yes, Whoopi's totally right to get heated with Judge Jeanine. Isabel says that's what racial prejudice looks like. Just one look in your judge. It's interesting too that obviously Judge Jeanine. I don't think that had nothing to do with race. No, I don't think But I think obviously the View knows when they book these kind of guests that they maybe not to this extreme, but they want this kind of stuff to happen, right? Right. So they're expecting that it's going to get pretty heated. That point of view. And sure, Judge Jeanine has, it's one thing to have a different point of view. There has been things that Judge Jeanine has said in her career that are flat out lies. So it's not that you can't have a different point of view. It's just sometimes she does definitely stretch the truth.
But listen, and Whoopi knows what it's like to be on the other side. Whoopi came down hard on Whoopi Goldberg was one of the last people to defend Bill Cosby publicly on television.
And they had to have like a whole segment about it.
They had to have a whole segment of where it was the education of Whoopi Goldberg, right? Like Whoopi, they each know what that's like, and it didn't matter at that time what anybody said to Whoopi, you weren't going to change your mind. So now you have two people on a set who claim they want to engage in some sort of dialogue, but really they both go into it knowing that neither of their opinions are going to be changed. And for that matter, neither of them respect what either have said, because Jeanine has lied in the past. Whoopi defended Bill Cosby to that. You know what I mean? So it's this kind of thing of where it's just not a good fit. Did you enjoy watching it?
Right, I know.
Some people love this stuff.
It's good TV. Like, does it accomplish anything? No, not necessarily.
No, but I don't know if The View is supposed to accomplish something.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, obviously, they're talking about a lot of political issues, but it's not going to change anything at the end of the hour.
You're not going to change Judge Jeanine's mind, and Judge Jeanine is certainly not going to change Whoopi Goldberg's mind. Like, at all.
Okay, well, anyway, guys, that's it. My point of view. Like I said, Whoopi Goldberg.
If you are struggling to
turn
lose
this
weight
off.
and secretly want to escape from the prison of fat, then...
Okay. Like I said, this is my opinion. That Whoopi Goldberg was on a panel where you could voice your opinions. And a lot of people have came on that show voicing their opinions and everything. Whoopi Goldberg, to me, was not wrong. How the way she said it, she could have had worded differently, but it wasn't worded differently. Okay? So, I mean, it is what it is. She got 2 weeks suspensions, but if she do decide to quit, who can blame her? There has been many people. There have been many of people who have came on The View and voiced their opinions.
You tackle the anti-Trump conspiracy in your new book called Liars, Leakers, and
Okay, many of people have came on and voiced their own opinion about a ton of things. And like Elizabeth Hasselbeck, I don't think that she was under fire for anything that she has said or commented or anything like that. Elizabeth was never under fire for anything she said. Let me get this up there. I'm not going to play it again. But Elizabeth was not under fire for anything. Now, Rosie O'Donnell, she left the show because of the Donald Trump situation. That was the first sign. And the fact that she was on a split screen and she had, she had a fight with Elizabeth Hasselbeck on a split screen. And she wasn't comfortable with that. She left the show. She came back when Whoopi was on the show. And she left, after being on air for about a year. You had Raven Simone, who was on there, and she was under fire for saying stuff like she wouldn't hire nobody with the name Watermelon Drill or something like that, with a crazy name or something like that. She was under fire for that and other things. She wound up leaving the show. Now, Whoopi Goldberg, a lot of people had always been posted, went into their on fire Whoopi and all this other stuff. And as soon as she say something about the Holocaust, wasn't about race, it was about humanity, they suspended for 2 weeks because that was controversy. But you done had people like Elizabeth Hasselbeck, who has sat up there and been controversial and has never been suspended. Even Meghan McCain has been controversial from time to time and have never been suspended. I don't think she has been. I think she might have gotten in trouble once. And I didn't play any clips from when she was on the show. You had the guests that they had, like Donald Trump. Donald Trump had been on The View a couple of times, but the last time he was on there, he was very controversial. They didn't agree with his opinions and stuff, and that's when he was thinking about running for election in 2012. He was thinking about running for the 2012 election. He didn't do it. And a lot of people didn't think he was going to do it in 2016, but he wind up putting his ballot in. He wind up going for it and becoming the president. And that's because he was saying a lot of stuff that a lot of the people from his base was saying in secret. He was saying it on TV and out in the open. He was saying stuff that people who voted for him, the majority of them, wanted to hear, wanted to say for years. Bill O'Reilly, who was also controversial, the stuff that he was saying on the show. And the stuff that he was saying on Fox News, and they didn't even do nothing to Bill O'Reilly until some sex scandal or something came up. That's when he left Fox News, because I think him and Roger, and I have to look that up. I think there was a sex scandal that came up or something like that. But other than that, Bill O'Reilly made fun of Maxine Waters here. There was things that he was saying concerning slavery that was very disagreeable. And nothing happened until this sex scandal or sexual harassment. I believe that's what it was. They had sexually harassed somebody or a few women that worked at the Fox network, because Roger Ailes, before he died, he was let go, and so was Bill O'Reilly. Okay? And so that was the only time he ever really been disciplined that I know of. Okay? He might have been disciplined before, but I don't know. So there, to me, again, The View is an open panel. You could discuss whatever topics you want to discuss. You could voice your opinion. And somebody voicing their opinion, a person of color, wind up being suspended because there was an outcry about what she said, about it not being about race. When you look at what race you are, they do not have on the application black, white, or Jew. Now, when it comes to ethnicity, they might have Jewish or something like that, or whether you are Hispanic or non-Hispanic. So, you know, it wasn't like she wasn't saying that it wasn't bad. It wasn't like she was saying with Sean, the press secretary for Donald Trump, I forget his last name. It wasn't what he was saying, because he basically got there and said that they didn't use chemical weapons in the Holocaust, and then he had to go back and apologize and say he didn't know and all that stuff. And people forgave him. He still kept his job. He wound up walking away from his job, and I can't even think of that lady's name that took over his job. I can't think of her name. But her father, I think her father was a governor or something like that. But anyway, I gotta go. Please like and share this video. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. I will be doing more videos. I will be talking about church, stuff like this. I will be talking about some of your musical artists. You know, just bringing up some facts. And I do have to talk about not only Hitler again, but also we have to talk about another person who has a big influence in the music industry. Okay, a big influence in the early days of music, I should say. So thank you all. If you have watched this, thank you so much, and have a nice and wonderful day and week. Bye.